Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the March 14, 2017 Springfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting. It's about 5:30 p.m. Mr. Burning, may we please have a roll call?
Yes, Ms. McFarland?
Here, present.
Mr. Harnlaw?
Present.
Mr. Burning?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
I'd like to ask everyone to stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have meeting minutes from the January 10th regular board meeting and the January 24th regular board work session meeting. If there's no corrections or revisions to the meeting minutes, I'll entertain a motion for approval as written.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Burning, can we please have a financial report?
Yes, sir, Mr. Burning. For the month ending February 28, 2017, the township expenditures were $1,265,125.14, and the receipts were $489,276.37. The ending cash balance of $16,067,098.32 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projections, and investments. I request a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue and reports for the period ending 2/28/17. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And I want everyone to know that our financial reports are available for viewing at the administration offices during the regular business hours during the week and also on our website. That's all I have, Mr. Burning.
Thank you, Mr. Burning. Tonight, the board will conduct a public hearing of the Township's 2017 permanent appropriations. I'll ask Mr. Hennekamp to provide a summary presentation of the Township's budget process and this year's appropriations. After all board questions and comments, we'll take comments or questions from anybody in the audience tonight, and the board will consider action later under the resolutions portion of our meeting. Mr. Hennekamp, can we have a presentation?
Yes, sir, Mr. Burning. Hopefully everybody can see that, but start out with tonight's presentation, just give a quick overview again of what the budget process in our cycle is. This is actually the final step of our 2017 budget-related activities. What I want to do is just kind of highlight and hit some of the main aspects of this year's appropriations, and then a quick review of the three major funds, kind of 5-year projections, and then, as you mentioned, we'll do questions and answers from the public. The process for the township, really, our budget cycle starts in July, and that's when the board passes the what's known as the tax budget. That process really accounts for the actual revenues and expenditures for the 2 previous years, and then also for the first half of the current year, which of course last year in July was 16, and then estimates for what we anticipate for the second half, and of course in all of 17. In September, that information is then voted on, and we receive certification from the Hamilton County Budget Commission, who certifies township budget, and then they send something back to the board, and the board authorizes, goes to an action where we actually authorize the tax levies necessary to certify back to the county auditor. That then, the auditor then recertifies back for us and basically says these are the amounts of monies that are available for appropriation. In December, we go through, at the end of the year, we go through the temporary appropriations. The purpose of temporary appropriations are to basically appropriate the money so that we can begin the year, and then by the end of the month in March, they are required to be sent back down to the county in their permanent form. And there's usually not a whole lot of difference for us between temporary and permanent, and that's pretty much the case this year as well. Just a few adjustments. Sometimes we get a little closer on a few numbers that we might not know in December. So that essentially is the process. Our appropriations are made up really from two different sources. They come from previous year carryovers. These are funds that weren't expended in the previous year, and then monies that we anticipate to receive in 2017. And this year's permanent appropriations is $28,384,066. $22,812,000 and change of that comes from estimated revenues that we will receive in 2017, and then about $5.5 million of that money is made up from carryovers from previous year, or essentially, money that we have in savings, leaving us with an unencumbered balance this year, assuming all permanent appropriations were met, of just slightly over $12 million. And that looks like a giant amount of money, and then $12 million is a lot of money, but you have to remember that's across all funds. And many of those, well, all of those funds really, even our general fund is restricted as to what it can be utilized for. And that's pretty common when the vast majority of your monies and your operations are coming from levy sources, where we're always saving those monies so that we can get the length of those levies. So just a quick review of going through this year's fund balances. We had a carryover at the end of 2016 of about $5.5 million in our general fund, and then you can see where some of those projections were. That is up about $1.8 million from what we predicted last March at this time, but again, most of that was made up by the JED-Z, which had a greater source of revenue than we expected. And we always tend to estimate that a little low because that has the possibility of being volatile. We had about $102,000 in senior center and Grove revenues, again, greater than estimated. Strangely enough, we did actually have an estate tax that, I think there were a couple of estate taxes that came due, even though that tax has been eliminated. Those are from 4 or 5 years ago. Local government fund was up slightly, and then our expenditures were down almost $500,000. So all total is why we received greater revenue than we initially had anticipated. So if you take a look at the revenue expected in 2017 of $3.8 million, and we have up the JEDs to 1.9 is what we anticipate from a projection. That's up, as I said, about almost $500,000 from what we had previously projected it as, for total appropriations of $9,488,717. That is the carryover with anticipated revenues. Our police district fund had a carryover of about $5.7 million. This was an increase of about $222,000 from what we projected in March, leaving them with, and in 17 we anticipate about $7.2 million worth of revenue, bringing the total appropriations available, the total amount available for appropriations at just under $13 million. Our fire district fund actually saw a decrease in what we anticipated. Their carryover is about $3,466,000, $369,000, and we had, as I mentioned, about $202,000 less than what we had projected, and that's just really had to do, I think, primarily to some staffing issues and also some health-related insurance costs. We're self-insured, and their estimates were a little higher. So the combination of those two things, primarily accounting for their projection being a little bit down than what we had projected. In total, we anticipate revenue in 2017 for our fire district of just under $5 million. Couple that with their carryover, and they have about $8.3 million available for appropriation this year. The EMS fund, which is generated from EMS billing, we anticipated, we had about a $540,000 carryover. This is a slight increase from what we projected, and again, just basically, it's a somewhat hard thing to project because it's based on how many runs you're making and how many payments that you get on EMS billing. So coupled with the revenue that we expected, about $775,000, that fund has about $1.3 million available for projections. Service fund's a little bit different to do, so I just kind of wanted to show this is somewhat of a disturbing trend, but not one that's totally unexpected. These are the funds that are primarily available to our service or public works department, the motor vehicle license tax, gas fund, road and bridge, permissive motor vehicle license tax in our road district, and that you can see some of these in total. What I did show is revenue available, total amounts of revenue available in 16 versus 17, so that's what those comparisons are. And as you can see, most of those funds are down from what we received last year. In total, a decrease of almost $560,000. That is a little bit of a misnomer just because that road district fund was a little higher because it was a project that we had anticipated to be built in 1 year. It didn't get built in that year, and so that there was a higher than normal carryover accounting for a good portion of that. But it's still showing you a trend that, the biggest issue, and this is one of the issues that we went over and over again with the JEDs during that JEDs tax, was the limitation of funds available for public works and infrastructure. And as you're going to see later, where we're really able to make up that difference is in that JEDs tax. So without it, that continual decline in the sort of dedicated funds available for public works now being made up by general fund dollars, primarily as a result of the JEDs tax. TIF fund, carryover of about $653,000, almost $654,000. With a revenue projection of $410,000 for a total of just over $1 million available for appropriation. We do make payments to the school districts that are involved in that TIF district. That was part of the original agreement, and those total right around $300,000. Those are things that we're obligated to make, so really total available for the townships about $764,000. So overall, this just kind of gives you a quick snapshot, as we talked about, just over $28 million of total appropriations, and then you get to see the total by the major funds. And I would pull it out, we do have capital project funds. There are 5 separate capital project funds in this year's appropriation, totaling $3.2 million of total capital projects. And these are road projects. These are primarily SCIP and major construction projects for infrastructure, not internal projects. So again, and then taking a look at our police district fund, we kind of went over there. There are a lot of sort of sub-funds. These bottom 3 really make up, or not just the bottom 3, but a couple of these funds are DART funds. We receive grant money, and that is a drug task force that the township administers on behalf of, what's that number now, Chief? It's always growing, about 17 or 18? 19. Every time I get close, it goes up. So we were as low as what, maybe 11 at one point, and we're back up to 19. So
Back to 19.
back to 19. So a lot of these funds have to do with that particular agency. Some of them are related to other things that the township receives money for on forfeitures, but they are highly, highly restricted. So it is very difficult to use these for salaries other than the DART funds. Most of them are tools and equipment and things like that due to the type of restrictions that they have. You can see the totals between our fire and EMS district fund and then also our EMS services fund, just a little over $7 million total available there. I think as we go through sort of the highlights of this year's budget, this isn't necessarily something that's in the appropriations, but one of the issues that the board's well aware of has to do with revenue and funding. Back in 2011, the board did place a $1 million 5-year levy on the ballot. That levy does expire this year, and so it will need to be renewed this year. We're not looking at or anticipating an increase in the tax, but simply a renewal of that particular levy. It accounts for approximately $625,000 a year, and we just would want to continue that as 5 years, and that's something we'll be talking about later this summer. But otherwise, and I guess why I bring that up is everything in this budget anticipates the passage of that issue, especially on a 5-year levy standpoint, or a 5-year projection standpoint. That with that levy, we anticipate the district to be strong through the 5-year period. Without it, obviously, that would be a substantial loss of revenue, and would change that projection fairly dramatically. I think, as we talked Sunday a little bit at the State of the Township, the primary issue with this budget, or the one highlight that I would call out, would be the infrastructure. I think this is about a record amount of infrastructure improvements that are in this particular budget. There's actually a total of $1,035,000, 366 total appropriations. And the reason that's different than that $3.2 million is we have to account for all of the money that we're receiving from all sources. So it's more of a recording type issue in our budget, but the actual amount we anticipate to expend in 2017 is the $1 million number, and that is a result of the fact that we're leveraging a lot of this against interest-free loans through the SCIP project. So that's sort of the impact. But all told, we do anticipate $2.5 million worth of total improvements taking place, and that's, I believe, 26 streets that would be resurfaced, as well as some drainage improvements. Let's jump in, and it's just a quick rundown of what those projects are and the loan opportunities that are available. We also have some tools and equipment purchases, some major purchases with Public Works and our service department, and also fleet. Police department, pretty much the ongoing type services that we see each year with cruisers, outfitting, and some unmarked cars, and then equipment for fire and EMS. Would probably highlight the squad as being the big ticket item, and just things that continually we're using on a daily basis and need to be replaced. We do have some fairly large capital improvements to make in our facilities. These are really not exciting projects. They're just primarily mechanicals and basic things just to keep the buildings going. We've just reached the useful lifespan of a lot of the mechanicals in our building, and that's primarily what you see on this particular slide. There are some funding, some staffing changes to provide a full-time program director for Arts Connect. This is sort of a one-year incubation sort of seed money for this particular program. It is projected to fund itself in year 2, primarily from the funds that will be derived from summer camps. And then really just with these are not additions to staff, this is just maintaining staff. So we will have some replacements of staff just as we continue to see retirements and planning for the future. This really, these appropriations are all just to keep staffing at pretty much current levels with a little bit of transition time in between. Looking at our major funds, if we look at the general fund, really it's never been more robust, and that's certainly, as I mentioned earlier, as a result of the impact of the JEDs. The infrastructure and SALT expenditures are always one of those issues where, as I mentioned earlier, we're spending more than we probably ever have from our general fund. Out of for infrastructure, the SALT, actually, I think when we first talked about that, that was one of the things that you never know what it's going to be. That's a positive development, given the mild winter that we've had, is affecting the budget in a much positive fashion. For the police district, they're finally, really, the only change in their projection is they're finally at, or, at least budgeted at full employment. So where we had a few years where there were some savings because we weren't a little understaffed. We're now back at full staff, so you're now seeing that. But even with that, we are projecting at this point that there would be no increase expected through the 5-year projection period. And the same is pretty much the case for fire, with the exception of the before-mentioned levy. So assuming that levy passes for the next 5 years, they would be solid. And that really gives you a pretty quick and dirty rundown of the appropriations, and I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
I don't have any, Mike.
I don't have any. We've been going over this for so many months now that, Gwen, do you have any?
No, I'm pretty clear. No, I have none. Yes, we have. We've gone over this and discussed it in meetings and taken it apart, dissected it, and then put it back together. So I'm pretty comfortable with where we are now.
Yeah, one form or another, we've been talking about this probably since October.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as comprehensively, but it is about a almost 6-month process, just for the appropriations.
I just want to thank the staff for putting their heads together and helping us put it together, and also accepting those things that we could not give you.
Our finance
With a
director,
smile.
Kim Cox, is
Kim is-
hiding in the back there,
Yeah,
trying to keep a low profile, right, Kim?
thanks, Kim.
Does anybody have any questions about our appropriations tonight? Okay, well then I ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor? Meeting's closed.
And then we'll proceed with our regular meeting. And Mr. Hennenkamp, will you give us your report on departmental action and discussion items?
Be happy to. Back to me again. We have just 3 action items tonight. The first is a transfer for a liquor permit being transferred to Kickbacks LLC to someplace different, and I do not believe there is any objections from the police department.
No objection.
That I would request the board take their customary action and have us send a letter to the Board of Liquor Control.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
At our meeting last month, we talked that we had received notification and information from the Hamilton County Solid Waste District that they were in the process, had updated their Hamilton County Recycling and Solid Waste Management Plan. We're looking for any board comments. I don't believe there were any at that time. We have reviewed the changes. They are fairly minimal, and I don't believe in any way or negative towards the township. So at this point, we would recommend that the board pass a motion. And in fact, there's actually a resolution. It's Resolution 25, so we don't have to take any action at this point. Assuming the board doesn't have any questions about the plan, we can take that action a little bit later.
No questions.
I have none.
None.
All right, next action is to seek, need a motion authorizing me to enter into an agreement with Medi-Count Management. That is the company that actually does the EMS billing for us. Chief, how long have we've had that arrangement for?
Well over 10 years.
Has it been that long?
Yes, sir.
I didn't think it had been that long, but, appreciation to Laura for working with those changes, and also for Kim Cox, but I don't believe there's anything substantial. There was some language that they wanted us to insert, but we were able to discuss that and get that worked out
We were
to our
able to
mutual
get that out of there.
satisfaction. We did. So at this point, just a motion authorizing me to enter into that agreement on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Just have a quick question. Has the billing, the cost or anything changed or been modified, or has it just been still flat like it's been?
It's pretty flat because our runs are fairly constant from year to year with a slight increase, but it's been pretty constant.
Okay. I
Second.
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, just by way of discussion items, again, we will have we'll have 4 different resolutions later for the board to act on. We've talked a lot about infrastructure, and as part of our comprehensive neighborhood master plan, we had a 5-year infrastructure component to that plan, and as one of the key elements of that plan is a kind of a new way to fund infrastructure through the use of assessments in combination with township funds. We've had great success in this program. We had 1 neighborhood last year do it, and now we have 4 that are ready to move forward. Those the Millbrook subdivision, Wyoming Point Place, Gulfview, and Lakeshore Estates. There are resolutions for each of those to take that first step. I will mention there are 2 other ones that have passed the petitions and are ready to go, but those projects will be constructed. Ranch Hill definitely next year, just because the funding doesn't become available until later this year. That's a skip project. And then also the Lakeview neighborhood. That's in combination, that particular skip project is combination with improvements to Winton Road, the north section of Winton Road. Winton Road will definitely not be constructed or reconstructed in 17. There's still an outside possibility. Mike and I talked today. It'll be a little late in the game to try to get Lakeview in, but it's still a possibility that we might do that in 17. So if anybody's listening from Rancho, I don't want them to think we've left them off. They're on the list. We've got the petition. We're ready to go with that project, but that's actually an 18 project. For Lakeview, if we do decide to do that project in 2017, then we'll bring those petitions forward. They're signed. They're ready. I believe they're ready to go. I know we had the meeting last year with those neighborhoods, so they're definitely in favor of it, but just wanted to mention that. And then have a very brief personnel update, just one action, and that was I did accept the resignation of Preston Duncan as a part-time EMT firefighter, and the effective date of his resignation was February the 28th, 2017. So I'll turn things over to Kim and ask Kim to bring the board up to date with community events and programs.
Thank you. This Saturday, we are running our Mom Prom event. That event is sold out. There are openings for the CERT class, which is the Community Emergency Response Team program. The first class for that starts on March 23rd. And then on April the 28th, we are running an event with Playhouse in the Park for a free program. It's Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
With that play, that's not the one where the kids wear their pajamas, is it?
That was
We
last
missed- we
month,
passed
right, where
that
it
one.
was pajamas.
Yeah.
This one, we do have a choir from Winton Woods Elementary, and they are going to be singing as an opening
Oh,
act
okay.
for the performance. So I think it'll be a fairly large event, and we'll be able to showcase one of our schools.
Wonderful.
Very good.
I just mentioned to the board at last month's meeting, we kind of give you an overview of update on the Hempstead project. There is a pre-construction meeting scheduled for March the 23rd, and I would expect, construction to begin shortly thereafter. So that project should get underway in April.
Late April, early May.
Yes.
And again, just to remind the board, it does have a completion date of November 1st. So that's really the critical date. It's
Right.
not so much when they start, but they have to finish it by November 1st, so.
That pre-construction meetings with the contractors, or that's a public meeting?
That's just with the contractors and the county engineer.
Okay.
Have we smoothed away and corrected the one problem we recently had on Hempstead with the water main?
Yes, the water main has been repaired, everything's been cleaned up.
I saw some photographs of that. It looked like a geyser. I mean, when it was,
Yeah, it was amazing scene. It was shocking to Fire Chief and I when we arrived early that morning.
At least it didn't happen in the middle of the construction.
oh, yeah.
Or 2 years from now.
Yes, yes.
Exactly.
It's going to happen. I know the board has copies of the department activity reports, so unless there's any questions, that's all I have, other than to request that the board do go into executive session following this, and that will be to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hennekamp.
You're welcome.
We have 11 resolutions. 5 of them, I think Mike already mentioned. The first one is Resolution Number 24-2017, adopting permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second it.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next one is Resolution Number 25-2017, approving the update of the solid waste management plan of the Hamilton County Solid Waste Management District. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second it.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next one's Resolution Number 26-2017, authorizing the sale by internet auction of vehicles forfeited to Springfield Township pursuant to Section 4503.233E1 of the Ohio Revised Code, which are no longer needed for public use, are obsolete, or unfit for use in the Drug Abuse Reduction Task Force of the Police Department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second it.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 27-2017, authorizing the private sale of junk motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to Revised Code 4513.61 and Revised Code 4513.62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in any township department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 28-2017, determining necessity for road improvements requested by landowner petition pursuant to Revised Code 5571.07 on Millbrook Drive, Woodfield Drive, Streambrook Drive, Leebrook Drive, Galecrest Drive, Timbermill Court, Ashford Court, Viewcrest Court, Allencrest Court, Thomas View Court, and Shadow Oak Court, and authorizing statutory actions required for such improvements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 29-2017, determining necessity for road improvements requested by landowner petition pursuant to Revised Code 5571.07 on Acreview Drive, Cheshire Drive, Silverbrook Drive, Stargate Lane, and Silver Glade Court, and authorizing statutory actions required for such improvements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And Resolution Number 30-2017, determining necessity for road improvements requested by landowner petition pursuant to Revised Code 5571.07 on Lockcrest Drive, Riddle Road, Winstead Lane, Stonehurst Lane, Whitestone Court, Tipton Court, and Altaview Court, and authorizing statutory actions required for such improvements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 31-2017, determining necessity for road improvements requested by landowner petition pursuant to Revised Code 5571.07 on Wyoming Point Place, and authorizing statutory actions required for such improvements. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 32-2017, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the Service Department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 33-2017, establishing assessment for removal of junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.871 and Resolution Number 80-2012, and certifying same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the last one is Resolution Number 34-2017, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Those are all the resolutions tonight. I can ask the board, do you have any old business?
Nothing this evening.
I just want to bring everyone up to date. Each year, we have an annual Public Health District meeting, and all of the townships and municipalities participate in those meetings, the elected officials. And what we looked at for this past year was a review of 2016. And as we all know, the problem regarding opiate, we're in an opiate epidemic. And it does not discriminate. It's hitting all of our county, all of our neighborhoods in our county. I know I used to think it could never happen in Springfield Township, but it is. And I just want to thank Rob as well for having the educational format to educate the community about what it's really all about. It's a very, very serious problem. And the health district is partnering with other communities to try to bring up some solution to minimize this whole epidemic that we're seeing. One of the things that I found most profound, and I thought about it, but I really didn't, was those individuals who OD'd, which meant they died, and left children. And so there are, in 2016, about 100 children who are now in orphanages because both of their parents succumbed to heroin. So it's a very, very serious problem, and it's something we need to stay on top of. And I think it's important to remember it's not a moral thing; it's a chronic disease that we're facing in our townships and in all of our communities. And the other thing that I found very interesting, because we were mentioned as well for the work that we're doing with paramedicine and how we use some of the data that the health district had provided for us through We Thrive, to put together some types of possibilities of proposals. Am I saying that correctly? Okay, for Springfield Township. So we've got a lot going on, and we are staying very involved and engaged with the health district. And the final thing, which I think is we need to really think about, the weather has been up and down, warm one day and cold today. And during the warm period of time, the mosquitoes have come out. And it was hard to believe, but the health district has actually isolated some of those colonies. Now the weather's getting cold again. So we have to get prepared for the Zika virus because it's coming. So the things that we need to be alerted about in our township, basically, is making sure that if we have any stagnated water that's not moving, if there's any ponds or even if there's a swimming pool and it has a cover and the water is stagnated there, to make sure that you clean all that out and put some type of chemicals on there. And I think what the chemicals are some type of they said they called the chemicals. We have to drain those culverts, and there's mosquito trapping that needs to be done, and then a chemical put in to eliminate the risk of mosquitoes in our neighborhoods, right? So anyone that's in our community that has a pond or any stagnated water that's just sitting still, you need to protect yourself and clean it up. And if you have a pond where you have goldfish in it, make sure that you have it aerated so that the water doesn't just sit there and provide the breeding for the mosquitoes. So they're coming out early. And if the weather goes back to being real, real cold again, which is sort of where we are now, that would be a great thing for us because it would eliminate the ability for the female mosquito to get ready to breed and have baby mosquitoes, which will create more problems. So we have to get ready and be ready because it's a serious problem that we're going to see and encounter in the county again. Rob, do you have anything? You look like you know about some of that.
No, actually, I don't. But I am fascinated, just like you. We both participate in the health department awareness programs and so on. So more information will be shared with the fire chiefs and EMS personnel accordingly.
That's good. So be prepared and protect yourself from the Zika virus because it's on its way. And I know you don't want to hear this, but we need to have colder weather a little bit longer so that it will slow down the process of the
mosquitoes.
There you go again. You didn't learn your lesson last time you brought us 2 foot of snow.
I did I say that word?
You didn't, but
I learned
begging
my
for cold
lesson.
weather.
I learned I said cold weather. So it was a very interesting meeting, and our boots are on the ground for being involved and engaged as Springfield Township. So I'll keep you posted if anything else comes up. Thanks.
Thank you, Gwen. Is there any new business,
I have none this evening.
Gwen?
No, I have none.
The only thing I'd like to say is I'd like to thank all the residents from all the communities that we talked to about doing the roads. Their participation was significant, and the success, I mean, of the 4 that we're doing right now, 3 of them were over 90%, one was at 100%, and the other one probably would have been over 90%, but it was a big neighborhood, and by the time they got to almost 70%, they just stopped getting signatures. So I really appreciate all the residents that have participated, and it's going to help us be able to obviously do a lot more roads than we would have been able to do with the limited amount of funds we have in our road budget. So thanks to all of them. If there's anyone in the audience tonight that would like to address the board, I'd ask you to please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Kyle Hufford, 8527 Pringle Drive. I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but Governor Kasich signed SB 199 in December. It takes effect on March 21st. One of the things that bill does is it allows concealed carry holders to carry in government buildings so long as there's not a no-gun sign posted. So I was wondering if we could expect the no-gun signs around the township to be removed, and if not, why?
Well, I think it depends
Chief,
on-
you wanna-
Chief, you want to?
Answer that? I mean,
Well, we have no gun signs in schools too, so.
right, but we do have them on,
Libraries.
on this bill, on our
The bill
building.
doesn't affect schools. The schools remain the same.
I know, but we do have them on our bill. You're asking why we don't take them down
I'm
from
asking
our...
if they're going to be removed after March 21st, and if not, why?
Well, honestly, we haven't decided whether they're going to be removed or not at this point. And then, as far as why, I mean, there's lots of good reasons why.
Oh, yeah, what would be a good reason?
Well, we don't want people coming in, I mean, we have people coming and going from this building all day long, and, I mean, we haven't discussed it yet, so I'm not going to speak
But
for
if,
the board.
just to continue on that point, though, if someone, and this is hypothetical, but if someone decided they wanted to come in here and shoot up the place, do you think they're going to stop at that door when they see that sign and, oh, there's no gun sign, I can't go in there and shoot the place up?
Well, they can't, they have to go through a process to get into the building first.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you know, those signs, they only affect law-abiding citizens. The criminal's not going to pay attention to them.
Your opinion is noted.
Okay. So could I expect an answer maybe next month?
I'm sure
We'll
by next
study
month.
We'll study the issue and when appropriate, make a decision.
All right, thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Rivers, 2068 Blue Hill Drive, Vice President of Seven Hills Action Group. I just want to let everybody know that Kim Flam had nominated us for Love Thy Neighbor Award, you know, that keeps Cincinnati clean. And I didn't have no idea, you know, I decided to go, me and Brian, and I didn't have no idea that we was going to actually win. We did win the Golden Spade Award and a donation of about $500. So this is the award here. We just pass it around. Kim gonna keep it for us till we can find where to put it.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, for the,
But it also, I only got one more thing to add. When you're turning from Seven Hills Drive, when you're making a right turn, you're turning on the Spruce Hill, okay? And what happened, you got Metro buses turning too. And it's not a big street. And right there on the corner, this is complaints from the neighbors, you know, they told me to address that for them. Is that if a car's coming down or a school bus is coming down, it backs up traffic because the Metro bus cannot make the turn. And what we need is like maybe a no parking sign right there on that corner. And sometimes they don't have enough room, so they cut short. They digging up the medium, the shoulders, like all routed up, you know, because the bus when it cuts. Okay, then on farther down on Spruce Hill, you're gonna make at the end of Spruce Hill, you're gonna make a left turn onto Blue Hill Drive. And it's the same situation with the school buses. I've actually seen people pull up in a school bus and they be at a standoff and won't nobody move. So now what they're starting to do now is the house on the corner is starting to cut across her grass, you know. And now she's got rutted tire tracks running across her grass because won't nobody, if the school bus get there first, won't nobody back up, you know. So, and no parking sign would help there. So I just wonder, you know, what kind of process could we go through to maybe get that straightened out? Because there's been a couple of road rage incidents there, people hollering and yelling at each other, you know. So I'm just thinking something bad gonna happen one day. And that's about what I have for that. Maybe I can get an answer on that or something, so I know what to tell them at our next meeting.
Well, Joe, I think it makes sense that maybe that's something that the
Mike can look
chief
into.
and Mike could work on together and look at what we can do to try and alleviate that congestion right there.
Just those two areas, just turning on Seven Hills, making a right-hand turn on the Seven Hills Spruce Hill. So the bus, when it gets to Roosevelt, that's plenty wide enough, so it's gonna make the turn. And then you got the Blue Hill off of Spruce Hill. And matter of fact, my wife had a wreck right there because it's so tight. You know, and you got residents that stay there, they park right there on the street, so now you just got like a single lane. You know, but if we had a no parking sign just on those two areas, just one sign in front of the one residence, and I know the residents probably won't like it. And but they got the side street where they can park. You know, it won't be that much out of the way for them to park. On both streets they can park. Blue Hill Drive they can park on Spruce Hill, and Seven Hills Drive they can park right there on Seven Hill. And we can get a no parking sign that'll eliminate that problem. But that's all I have to that, and we're doing pretty good with our little group and everything. And
Rob and Mike will take a look at that, and we will get back to you.
okay then, thanks. That's all I have. Thanks.
And Joe, I just say thanks for good work and congratulations on the award.
Okay, thank you.
You guys really worked hard to make that happen, and with the community as well, so it's well-deserved.
I had no idea we was gonna win. I was so shocked I couldn't get up out of the chair. I had to run there and a couple guys run over there to help me up.
Would anybody else like to address the board? Okay. If we have no other business before the board,
We
I'd
need
like
to go
to
into-
go into executive session.
But before we do that, there was one thing I did forget to say as part of the budget, and that is OpenGov.
Oh.
We
Yes.
have talked about that at length, and we will be live tomorrow. So a lot of the information that we talked about here tonight is on our website. Our website's going to be updated at the end of the year, but it'll be on there in the
Just so
format
everyone knows
today.
what Mike's talking about, all of the financial information, I know that the treasurer of the state put out a thing for opengov.org on the state website. Ours has been available on the township website, but what we're putting on the township website tomorrow live will be way more information than what the state website has on it. It won't just be what they have, but you'll be able to look at by department and how the money's spent within the department. There'll be graphs and everything that you can look at and tell you exactly what's going on in the township. So it's actually we took what the state was doing and actually blew it up quite a bit. So I think everybody would be,
Certainly did.
that wants to take a look at our website tomorrow, hopefully it'll be up. That's the plan.
The platform is something we use internally, so that was really the onus for purchasing it, for what we're able to do internally with it, but then it does have the public feature that you can make available, and that's what we'll do. So it's interactive, so where our data has been static in the past, where we have it, this is interactive. You can kind of go to what you want to know.
And it answers a lot of, any questions, or there's a lot of questions you might have. It'll tell you right there where to go and everything. It's very, very easy to use, very user-friendly. So with that, I think we'll go into executive session.
Well, we have to have I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the reasons stated previously by Mr. Hennekamp.
So moved.
Second
Has
it?
it been moved, seconded?
I second it.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolaw?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
We're in executive session.